Former Minister Rajitha Senarathne arrested after surrendering before the CID. Don't hold election for Kurunegala. Gnanasara Thera request in his petition challenging the rejection of the nomination list. Pay for what you used, says Vasudeva Nanayakara. Fire at the Ariyararatne court, suspected to be an act of arson to destroy evidence.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. On to those stories in detail. Former Minister Dr. Rajitha Senarathne surrendered to the Criminal Investigations Department a short while ago. Tarush Kumar Singha reports from the Criminal Investigations Department.
Last year, former Minister of Health Rajitha Senarathne was named as a suspect in the controversial White Van conference that he held last year. On the 30th of December last year, the Chief Magistrates Court of Colombo granted him bail out of the case. Situation at hand today is that the Colombo High Court quashed that bail order issued by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court and advised the court that the minister should appear before the Colombo Magistrates Court. We came here earlier tonight and we received the news that former Minister of Health Rajitha Senarathne has surrendered himself to the CID and he was arrested thereafter, and we are receiving the news that he will be produced before the Colombo Magistrates Court later tonight.
The Colombo High Court today quashed the bail order issued by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court on former Health Minister Rajitha Senarathne about the controversial White Van press conference and ordered for Senarathne to be produced in court. Colombo High Court Judge Manjula Tilakaratne ordered the Colombo Chief Magistrate to take necessary action about the former minister. The Attorney General filed a revision bail application with the High Court against the bail order, and considering it, the Colombo High Court judge ruled that the bail order by the Colombo Chief Magistrate was full of errors. The Colombo High Court judge pointed out the learned Chief Magistrate had given bail to Senarathne at a time when he was named as a suspect in the investigation regarding a controversial press conference. The High Court judge added, Senarathne was given bail when there was clear information to claim he was evading court and detectives at a time investigations were taking place with an arrest warrant issued against him. The High Court judge pointed out the bail order was issued disregarding the request made by the Deputy Solicitor General not to grant bail to Dr. Rajitha Senarathne until statements are recorded from the suspect and a medical report is called for on his health condition. Therefore, he pointed out that the bail order was legally flawed. The High Court judge said the errors were serious to even shock the conscience of the court, and the bail order was quashed. Deputy Solicitor General Dileepa Pires said the order issued by the court today would become a guide for all magistrates' court in the country, adding it would also prevent suspects from engaging in acts such as admitting themselves in the hospital when named as a suspect. Thereafter, Colombo Chief Magistrate Lanka summoned the Criminal Investigations Department and ordered detectives to produce Dr. Rajitha Senarathne in court. A group headed by the General Secretary of the Bodubala Sena Galagodatte Gnanasara Thera filed a writ application at the Supreme Court against the rejection of the nomination list of the Ape Jana Balavege party. The petitioners requested court to quash the decision of the Kurunegala returning officer to reject the nominations submitted by a group, including Gnanasara Thera, on the grounds of illegality. The nomination lists were rejected due to defects in the sworn statement in the nomination list. The petitioners have further requested for interim relief by way of an order suspending the polls in the Kurunegala district until legal proceedings on the matter conclude.
Directing our attention to the top story for the day now, Rajitha Senarathne, former minister, has been remanded until the 27th of May. Taking a look at more news, police suspect that the fire that erupted at the Deyandara Magistrates Court was an act of arson.
A fire erupted at the evidence storage of the Deyandara court premises at 5 this morning. A police officer and a security guard at the court premises had informed the magistrate and the Deyandara police of the fire. Steps were taken to douse the fire. Detectives arrived at the scene of the crime at about 9:30 this morning. According to our correspondent, officials of the Government Analysts Department also inspected the area. 2 teams under the supervision of a superintendent of police have been deployed for investigations. There were no CCTV cameras at the site of the fire.
Candidates contesting the general election were summoned to the National Election Commission today as well.
Candidates contesting the election independently were summoned for a meeting today.
The Elections Commission has said the 20th is the date, but it is very clear that if you do not gather the nomination numbers and symbols of the independent groups by the 15th, it is difficult to hold the elections on that date. So it is evident that the elections will be postponed. Also, it is dangerous if the elections are postponed indefinitely, and power is being exercised in an authoritarian manner by one individual or a few people. The election must be held on the earliest possible date. But when this date is decided, it must be based on actual statistics and not after holding media circuses and saying that all clusters in Sri Lanka are over.
He said that he cannot confirm if the elections will be held on the 20th. He said that he will also look into the decision given by the court. He said after that decision is made, he will make a statement to the country on whether or not the election would be held.
He said that this matter is now before courts. The courts will discuss the matter next Monday, and it may be taken up on the 18th and 19th, and it can go on until the 21st. He said that a decision on the date of the elections will be announced after the courts hand down a decision. So definitely the election will not be held on the 20th of June. This is certain.
මේ යෝජිත මැතිවරණ දිනය මැතිවරණය පැවැත්වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක ඉරහඳ වගේ විශ්වාසයි. අපි මේ තත්ත්වය තේරුම් ගන්න නැහැ.
We have not understood this situation. We should have decided in March itself to postpone the election to a day after August. Our country is going through a difficult period. How are we going to help our people live? Give them the food and medicine that they need. The country must be made free from this election mindset if this is to be done. People don't have money to eat. People are suffering. They are living in fear of their lives. Against such a backdrop, if we are counting days until the election and holding rallies targeting an election, this is a very bad situation.
The Commission cannot make a private decision. They are gathering opinions now. There are cases filed on this matter. I believe that the election must be postponed.
Do not make preparations to conduct the election amidst the coronavirus. There is a case pending before court. Once the case concludes, we will accept the decision of the Election Commission.
Meanwhile, election monitoring groups also met with officials of the Election Commission today.
During the discussion, we focused on the safety measures that we need to take during the election regardless of when it is held, and also on protecting the fundamentals of the election. The Election Commission will decide on the date of the election after consulting the health authorities. Therefore, we didn't pay much attention towards that.
The Colombo Municipal Traffic Division conducted operations in search of those who violate curfew laws today. According to our correspondent, the national identity cards of drivers were checked during the inspection, and people who had violated curfew have been strictly advised. The fifth phase of returning people stranded in the western province to their hometowns was conducted today. 2,022 people were sent to their hometowns.
I came to my sister's house on the 8th of March. My son met with an accident and he was admitted to the Vatupitiwala hospital, so we couldn't leave.
I came to see my mother in March. I had no way of going back, so I am very grateful.
With the concessionary period granted for the payment of utility bills coming to an end, people have now begun to receive these utility bills. What are the concessions that the public will receive to pay off these utility bills of the past 2 months?
The Water Board provides water for 2.4 million people. Many consumers may be confused about the value that should be paid for these bills, as it contains arrears of several months.
There is an average cost that we get as our water bill. It's between 1,200 and 1,300 rupees. This is for about 25 to 28 units per month. I got a bill of 5,063 rupees. When I went and spoke with the water board, they said that this bill was a mistake. They said that they will rectify it and send a new bill next month. They asked me to pay the usual amount. No one is going to pay your bills. Why? Because all bills must be settled by the people who use those services. Same goes for loans. You must pay for what you used. It's the same for water bills. But if there are certain issues in the water bills, they can be rectified. The reason is because the bills were prepared based on estimates. They were not able to read the meters during the past 2 months. If there is a mistake in the estimated values, we will rectify it. The concession was that people were exempted from paying their utility bills for the past 2 months. If people cannot pay these bills at once, they can pay them off in installments.
There are about 6 million electricity consumers in Sri Lanka. Certain consumers allege that they received their bills even though no one obtained their meter readings.
My bill for the month of March was 74 rupees. This month too they have billed me 74 rupees. The meter has gone beyond that. Now we will get a bigger bill next month. Generally we have an income of 450 million rupees daily. But during the past few weeks, we only got a daily income of about 100 to 150 million rupees. It is a relative reduction in our income. We know that people are having issues in paying off their bills. We are holding discussions on giving a 30-day grace period. We have not taken a decision to disconnect power.
1.5 million people use telecommunication services in the country.
We gave a lot of relief period for our customers to make their payments, and nearly more than 2 months. And we need to maintain the largest network, including the national backbone fiber network, the global network connected with 5 submarine cable systems across the globe. So there are huge expenses that we need to incur. But the sad situation is our collections are so low where we have a huge challenge in meeting our expenses. So we understood the customers' requirements to give them the relief time in a difficult time. So we did it. I'm sure customers now understand and reciprocate and help us.
Commuters continue to be inconvenienced due to mismanaged public transport services.
State and private sector employees continue to face issues in accessing public transport today as well. Passengers were seen adhering to health guidelines when travelling in this bus bound from Petta to Galle. However, passengers did not adhere to the health regulations when boarding this bus but was bound to Avissavella from the same depot. Police officers checked vehicles on the road and advised people who were on the road without a valid permit. Many state and private sector employees were unable to access public transport at the main bus depot in Kurunegala.
නෑ බසස් නෑ කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ මොකද අර ඊයේ කිව්වට සීට්ස් ගානට යන්න දෙනවා කියලා තාමත් එහෙමත් නෑ කියලා කියනවා
කොළඹ යන්න දැන් ඇවිල්ලා නම් පැය එකමාරක් විතර වෙනවා බස් එකක් නෑ තාම ඉතින් 5000ක් දාලා දෙනවා මෙතන එක සීටින් බස් එකක් ගන්න සෙනඟ කොච්චර දෙන අසරණයිද 5:25 මෙතන ආවේ ගෙදරින් පහට පිටත් වුණා 3 වෙනකන් ආවේ මෙහාට.
The Kalutara bus depot was almost deserted. According to our correspondent, SLTB buses operated to transport a limited number of passengers.
Now, former Minister Rajitha Senarathne, who was arrested earlier today due to his involvement in the White Van press conferences last year, was remanded until the 27th of May. We now cross over to live visuals from opposite the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. The visuals you are witnessing now are from opposite the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court, where former Minister Rajitha Senarathne was arrested and remanded until the 27th of May, a short while ago. In more news, while the populace continues to question how utility bill payments are to be made, the impending general election has dominated the political discourse. Here are some of those views.
The National Elections Commission had addressed a letter to the President on the 31st of March, warning him that a constitutional crisis would occur if the new parliament is not convened by the 2nd of June, and to seek an opinion from the Supreme Court. In response, the President said he is not prepared to seek the opinion of court. We had to move forward unconstitutionally and illegally. The government's conduct is illegal, especially in terms of state finance. Since the President did not seek a determination from court, we ourselves had to go to court.
The courts have claimed that the Supreme Court would not issue an interim injunction against the NEC and that conducting elections is a duty vested with the NEC. We are carrying forward with this government. We are simultaneously moving the fisheries industry forward while containing the pandemic. We are also maintaining the economy while battling the pandemic. We are doling out funds and essential goods. Similarly, we have to hold an election while containing the pandemic.
We have no intention of contesting an election and coming into power over dead bodies. That is the difference between us and the ruling party. They have now understood that they are in a tight spot. Therefore, their intention is to obtain 2/3 majority by holding an election, even amid corona. We can see how grimaced their faces looked during media briefings. They worsened this issue due to their determination to hold the election. The divided UNP is now planning on putting forward the coronavirus pandemic and to get the nomination cancelled and reunite. Their issues have imploded. There is a division within the opposition. Thus, we would like to tell the opposition, solve your internal issues separately. Let the National Elections Commission decide on when to conduct the elections.
We should state clearly, we do not have any sort of personal or moral grudge with Ranil Wickremesinghe. We only reprimand the administration of the party and the secret deals that are struck between those in the party and others in the ruling faction. We can join Ranil Wickremesinghe today, during the election or even after the election. However, if the nominations are cancelled and those who were not given nominations through the SLPP join together, it would detrimentally affect the votes of the SLPP. That is what he fears.
පෝට්ටුවේ නාම යෝජනා ඉල්ලලා ලැබුණ නැති ඒ සියලු කණ්ඩායම් එක පෙරමුණකට ඇවිල්ලා පෝට්ටුවේ ඡන්ද කඩේ කියලා තමයි එතුමගේ බය තියෙන්නේ.
They fear an election. Throughout the history of the opposition parties in the country, never have we seen an opposition party supporting a ruling party with the country's affairs. In quintessential opposition behavior, the opposition at the present continues to criticize the virtuous acts of the government while attempting to sabotage them.
රජය කරන හැම හොඳ ක්‍රියාවකටම අකුල් හෙලමින් එය විවේචනය කරමින් එය කඩා කප්පල් කරන්නට අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කිරීම.
There is no difference of policy between the UNP and the SJB. These two parties can easily unite. Nominations had to be given separately due to a temporary dispute.
පක්ෂ දෙක එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිත් සමග ජන බලවේගයේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිත් එකයි. తాවකාලික ගැටලුවක් නිසා තමයි නාම යෝජනා වෙනම දෙන්න උනේ.
We are left to pay the debts they obtained. Our government will not whine about not having sufficient funds. This government will act as a government which fulfills its duties towards the people.
මේ රටේ ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් කරන්න තියෙන යුතුයකම හරියට ඉෂ්ට කරන ආණ්ඩුවක් හැටියට අපි කටයුතු කරන.
One could measure how eager they are to conduct the election. They even know which temperature to heat the slate in order to disinfect the ballot papers. But they do not understand how hot the people's slate is. They are in dire straits. People cannot survive on 5,000 rupees. However, there are millions to import luxury vehicles for ministers. The government has funds to spend 31 billion to construct expressways. Due to this situation, the election cost will also double. But the government does not have sufficient funds to provide 20,000 rupees for the people to survive.
මැතිවරණ වියදමත් දෙගුණයක් වෙනවා. හැබැයි ජනතාව ජීවත් කරවීම සඳහා පවුලකට දිය යුතු රුපියල් 20000 දෙන්නට රජයට සල්ලි නැහැ.
According to the epidemiology unit, by 11:30 last night, 20 new COVID-19 cases were reported in the island. Only 4 new COVID-19 cases were reported in the country today. This brought the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 893. 500 patients are still receiving treatment, while 382 people have been discharged after making a full recovery. However, although only 4 patients have been reported so far today, tomorrow we will report on the latest figures as per the statistics released by the authorities later tonight. In more news, a debate has arisen regarding the transfer and appointment of government officials.
Once an election is announced and the nominations are accepted, transfers cannot be made, and we would like to ask the Election Commission whether they did this transfer with permission, because the Election Commission can take certain necessary decisions, but they can't do it like that. Even I know the Secretary of the Public Administration Department is accused that this is gazetted while on leave, and now it has become a constitutional crisis. The Election Commission has suspended all the transfers. This measure has been taken, therefore the public officials involved in this election process cannot be removed. If any transfers are made, it has been done with the approval of the Elections Commission. Therefore, the Commission should make decisions regarding the power of the government and the manner in which the government should act and how it will affect the election. The opposition cannot give a decision on this matter.
Various comments have been made on a recent controversial statement made by Minister Vimal Weerawansa. The risk has not yet passed. Although the Director General of Health Services is not conducting random PCR tests among the community and only testing families of Navy sailors, and is saying that the virus is only spreading among these few families, the people in the country do not accept this. 9 former parliamentarians wrote to the Director General of Health Services and requested him to provide us with the details of the PCR tests that were conducted in the country. We only asked him for the statistics. We did not request for any personal information. But he has not given these details to us that we requested under the Right to Information Act. Something is being hidden. Against such a backdrop, Minister Vimal Weerawansa is suggesting that the ballot papers can be put in a pan and heated to 50 degrees Celsius and everyone can be safe. I think all countries that are due to conduct their elections during this COVID-19 outbreak must actually consider Minister Vimal Weerawansa's proposal. What kind of jokes are these? The patients of the Kurunegala Teaching Hospital were heavily inconvenienced today after the hospital proceedings were disrupted as the director of the hospital was barred from entering the premises by hospital workers.
The director of the hospital was locked out of the building by the hospital workers. Upon the arrival of Dr. Sarath Veerabandara, they said he had been transferred and could not be allowed in. A heated situation arose over an argument between the doctor and the workers. The situation escalated when the workers retaliated when Dr. Sarath Veerabandara attempted to enter the premises. Our correspondent reported that due to this matter, none of the hospital services were carried out properly. According to our correspondent, Dr. Sarath Veerabandara refrained from speaking to media.
The Colombo stock market ended firmer today, ending its 2 straight losing streaks as investors picked up the battered shares.
The Colombo Stock Exchange has fallen more than 30% so far this year due to intense selling of the risky assets amid economic worries with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and rupee depreciation. The benchmark all-share price index ended 2.81% firmer at 4,367.25 points, while the most liquid share index, the S&P SL20 index, rose 2.59% to 1,729.15 points. The turnover was at 978.4 million rupees. Foreign investors sold a net 329.5 million rupees worth of shares today.
World-renowned YouTube video blogger Nas Daily has created a very special video naming Sri Lanka the most generous country during COVID-19. Here is a small excerpt of the video.
When you shut down an entire airline, there are consequences. People get stranded and they can no longer fly home. Right now, millions of tourists are stuck in countries that are not their home countries. Well, this is a problem, and there is one country that is trying to fix it. It's called Sri Lanka. In a small town in Sri Lanka called...
The Negatimu Sri Lanka theme song has acted as a harbinger of hope and strength for the Sri Lankan people and everyone across the globe. Here is yet another rendition of the song.
Diyasaka Sanka Badaka Adarin Negatimu Sri Lanka Hitamu idiriya mai khawanna hama Negatimu Sri Lanka Heta idiwana navalokaya hamuwe Negatimu Sri Lanka Negatimu Sri Lanka Negatimu Sri Lanka Guna piripun rata Sri Lanka Mevan bhumiye urumaya apage rakagamu Sri Lanka Idiriya gana ekuvi apasituwot rakagannata Lanka Duruve vyasana apa idiriye ati badaka jaya ganva Negatimu Sri Lanka Negatimu Sri Lanka Mattum kaanada manida pandugal indidum Sri Lanka Naattamuttinam urimai desathai kaapom irukanna
Time for us to hope and pray and heal our motherland.
We must unite and march ahead. Arise Sri Lankans now. Yendeda Sri Lanka. Rise up Sri Lanka. Anduru ala pata atarin hinehi negatimu Sri Lanka. Diyasaka sanka badaka atarin negatimu Sri Lanka. Hitamu idiriya mai khawanna hama Negatimu Sri Lanka Heta idiwana navaloka hamuwe Negatimu Sri Lanka Sri Lanka Rise up Sri Lanka Negatimu Sri Lanka Api Negatimu Sri Lanka
Gammetta Negatimu Sri Lanka.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1. We are now joined by Faraz Shaukat Ali for Newsline.
Thank you very much, Jamal, and a very good evening to you. This is